Spot Bitcoin ETFs see $4.6 billion in volume on their very first day of trading. Welcome to Market Insight. I'm Elena Casas. Thursday was the first day you could buy a spot Bitcoin ETF after 11 were approved by the SEC and began trading. Providers include BlackRock, Grayscale and ARK21. It's a crucial test for the cryptocurrency industry as fund managers try to sell it as a mainstream investment to financial professionals who are often still skeptical. Well, to find out if that's a risk worth taking, I'm joined now by Victoria Bills, Chief Investment Strategist at Banríon Capital Management. Victoria, hi. What did you make then of these ETFs' first day on the market?
I think the first thing in terms of the spot Bitcoin ETFs is that this is an amazing opportunity to gain exposure into an asset class that has had amazing returns over the past couple of years and has shown, even despite its extreme volatility, that there can be some stability that can be gained from having Bitcoin or access to Bitcoin. Historically, it has been a market that has been very much under lock and key because of the accessibility due to cold and hot storage. But these spot Bitcoin ETFs essentially allow for not just advisors, but also retail investors to gain this additional exposure without having to necessarily own Bitcoin. So I think that the spot ETF overall has been an amazing opportunity to not only just gain exposure, but also increase liquidity across the board for this market.
What's the advantage then, rather than buying Bitcoin directly?
So the advantage is you get to capitalize on the pricing structure of Bitcoin without necessarily having to own Bitcoin directly. In order to own a Bitcoin, you essentially have to have access to either an exchange, whether that's through Coinbase or through some of the other defunct exchanges that we know about. This way, again, you can own Bitcoin or gain access to the price exposure of Bitcoin without having to go through that tedious process of setting up that hot cold storage wallets or even having to own hash keys in order to maintain your wallet over time.
Plenty of people, though, Victoria, both retail investors and financial professionals, are still skeptical, aren't they? So do you think that this will convince people? Is Bitcoin losing its slightly lawless image now?
I believe that it does. I believe that essentially the SEC approving these spot Bitcoin ETFs kind of helps to provide a little bit of legitimacy to the industry. It also, many of the spot Bitcoin ETF holders or providers that are working alongside the SEC to gain approval, but also these are large institutions that have worked for many years across various asset classes. One of the ones that actually I'm very excited about is the Bitwise spot ETF, even though I'm a huge fan of what's going on with BlackRock and their history with ETFs over many years. But what I appreciate about the Bitwise or BitB ETF particularly is that these are folks who have worked for a very long time, not just in the crypto industry, but they also have had the financial advisor in mind with the setup of how they've constructed their ETF. They also yesterday, just to note, had the largest trade inflows of all of the ETFs. That includes Fidelity and outbeating Fidelity and BlackRock.
How much could this turbocharge the price of Bitcoin this year?
I predicted that we could expect or kind of see Bitcoin skyrocket in price up to potentially 50 or 60,000. Much of that, I believe, or much of my thesis surrounding that is that as we gain more market players, more people are interested in getting involved, and we're actually seeing this in kind of the drop in price right now as trade volumes are increasing largely. So now we're seeing kind of the proof of this is that more participants are getting involved in these spot Bitcoin ETFs. So the expectation is as we gain more players, that will potentially lead to a huge spike in prices as people are hoping to gain or recognize further growth in that price.
Victoria Bills of Banríon Capital Management, many thanks for your thoughts. And that's your Market Insight. Don't forget, you can watch more videos on Reuters.com.